How to start your Monday morning. Start the fire, boil the water, grind the coffee, add filter, coffee in the filter, water into filter, watch it drip, more water, watch it drip some more, fill your cup, raise your cup, and no. Leave the house and leave it up to the professionals to make the coffee. I'll stick to the conversations. Welcome to Caffeinated Conversations with Brooke Allen. Well, good morning. Welcome to Caffeinated Conversations with Brooke Allen. This is our 75th show. It's so exciting. I can't even believe it.
Awesome.
Every Monday since November of 2023 is when we kicked off. And ironically, that first show was on National Kindness Day. And today it is actually Global Pay It Forward Day, which is why I'm wearing my heart sweaters. I just hit my mic. Sorry, Dean. So Global Pay It Forward Day, this is interesting. So it's celebrated in 80 countries. And today the world is expecting 10 million acts of kindness, which I think is pretty cool. So the way to help somebody out or show kindness or to pay it forward, we all heard the stories during COVID, how people would go through the drive-through and pick up the cup of coffee for the person behind them, and then it just kept going and going and going. I think it went on like 3 days in one instance. So cool, and I kind of love to acknowledge that kind of stuff because it's important. Obviously, I talk about my twins all the time. They're 13. I like to think that they're pretty kind and that they have good manners, so they do hold the door open for people. Sometimes, like for 10 minutes, and I'm I'm like in the car, like, where are they? Oh, they're holding the door open. So you can't really be mad at them for that. But it is a kind of interesting thing. So thank you so much for being with us on this Monday. Finally starting to feel like spring here in Michigan. And I am lucky. I have seen Joni Woods a lot lately.
A lot.
So thank you so much for being here. So first of all, let's clear up a misconception.
Okay.
I will freely admit that I did it when I saw you today. And I said, "Hey, Joni." And she's like, "Nope, it's Joni. Everyone does that." I think a guest of mine last week, actually, you told me does that too, right?
Yep. Every time he sees me.
We won't call him out. Won't call him out. But yeah, so Joni Woods.
Yes.
You are a relationship coach, but not a leadership coach.
Yes, there is a big difference.
Yeah, so explain that because it's so interesting.
Well, what I try to focus on is specifically how to have healthy relationships through nonviolent communication. So we're taking out passive aggressiveness, gaslighting, all of those like therapy terms that people really don't know. And it's just, I don't know how to share my feelings well. How do I acknowledge who I am, self-reflect, recognize that I'm responsible for my own choices and how I head into a conversation. And when you do that, then you build healthier relationships with everyone. So I try to focus specifically with businesses because I really want to see healthy work cultures really
amazing
grow.
How unhealthy work cultures can be.
So unhealthy. And then they take those bad habits home to their relationships with their kids or their siblings or their, relationships are everywhere. Friendships, how do you learn how to communicate your feelings when your friend is, hurt them if you're not learning how to do it in every area of your life? So that's what I was like, how can I help the most amount of people? Well, then if I go into the corporate world and start talking to them about, okay, let's talk about why you said that the way you said that, or what were you feeling in that moment that were you triggered? Was this something that has to do with nothing that has to do with work?
So, let me interrupt you for a second because triggers are so interesting because you don't know, first of all, when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it can happen in the weirdest spots when all of a sudden you're upset and you're like thinking, what's wrong with me right now?
Yeah.
And you don't know exactly what was brought up.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with triggers?
For me personally, I feel it in my back. But one of the clients that I worked with specifically at a restaurant, a manager, when she got really triggered, she like ran and kind of just like totally confronted someone, and we had to talk her through it and be like, what happened there? And she's like, I literally just saw black. And I was like, okay, it brings this emotional upheaval and just it's crazy. Like it just suddenly you're out of sorts, and that's when people don't recognize. And it took her like 24 hours for her to be like, yeah, something about that, something about the way that he talked to me, it really just triggered me. I was like, okay, well, let's talk through that. And then we were able to get her to sit down with her employee and apologize. You
Oh,
know,
okay, yeah.
that whole awareness, it was
Mhm.
like, I'm sorry for my reaction. You know, I was triggered. And to be able to say that suddenly opens a new part of the relationship because he can respect that, one, she was accountable,
Mhm.
that she reflected on it, that
Plus,
she
she
didn't.
was a manager and he's
Yeah.
a regular employee, right?
Hmm.
So that makes a difference
It
too, I
makes a
think.
huge
Yeah.
difference because, you know, a lot of people don't want to accept responsibility. They want to hide behind their role. Whereas she was like, no, I did it wrong.
Mhm.
And it took 24 hours. It does take some time to reflect.
If it's
Like,
genuine, I think, right?
exactly.
Because if you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, sorry, that triggered me. Let's move on," and then it happens again the next day.
Well, and then to blame the other person, like for her, she recognized that she was triggered. So that was something that she needs to work on. Sometimes people get triggered and they're like, well, you triggered me.
Right.
And it's like,
This is your fault,
this
which
is your
then in
fault.
turn is being
You,
what? Passive aggressive or what is
or
it?
I don't know. Those are you know, therapy words that I don't really even fully know, but I just know that I'm like, we're not going to do that. We're going to work on our emotional intelligence, you know, our self-awareness, our reflection, you know, and fixing how we show up to the conversation. And I think that that's most important.
So when you go into companies, do
Mhm.
you is it speaking to a room full of people or is it one-on-one or is it a mixture?
I've done both. I was with one company for about 6 months, and I would do like workshops specifically on like emotional intelligence, self reflection. We would do like team building stuff, not like leadership, but more this is who I am, recognizing that every life experience that you have changes how you see the world.
Mhm.
You know, it changes. I call them the lenses. We have lenses that from childhood up until recently, 2003, my house burned down, and that's a trauma and it changes how I would approach everything. Like I had a really hard time getting on airplanes because I was just so afraid. You know, you have one big thing that doesn't necessarily happen to everyone and you're afraid of everything.
Everything.
And I had to take time to process that with my therapist and be like, how do I stop being afraid and it was like you have to work through that trauma, and not a lot of people do. They're just like, oh, well, life happens, or you know, something else where it changes the lens. You get a divorce and suddenly you don't believe in love anymore, you know, like
Right.
it's just all of these little things, and it chips away at, you know, chip on your shoulder, it chips away at who you really want to be, and people don't recognize that. And so it's having that self-awareness and going, okay, that probably means I need to work on this a little bit, you know.
And I think fear
Yeah.
stops people a lot too, even in relationships or just, from actually sharing what they need in a relationship, whether
Yeah.
it's corporate or personal. That's hard to do because
Mhm.
you're afraid the person might reject you.
Yeah, for sure. I have a I've struggled, and this is part of like my book that's coming out is, you know, I'd spent my entire life trying to find unconditional love by being perfect in everyone's expectations. And because I never ended up finding it, I now am like, okay, well, I'm going to love myself unconditionally and then hopefully be able to find someone that I can share what my needs are. And even in the corporate world, we had a new manager come in and she was like, tell me about you. Like, how do you take feedback? And I said, honestly, the biggest thing that I need when there's a confrontation or we need to work through something is I need you to ask questions,
Mm.
because I recognize through my marriage and my divorce and kind of anyone in that past area, like if they come at me and they're like, tell me what,
Mhm.
like I don't respond. I shut down completely. And it was fearful for me to tell her that because I was like, I'm giving you power
Right.
to hurt me later.
Hmm.
And I'm trusting you to hear what I need and show up in the way that I need.
But I think it's interesting that she asked the question even.
Yes.
Right? Because a lot of
Right.
times you go for a job or whatever and they're like, okay, fill this out and we're good.
Hmm.
Let's just keep moving.
Yeah.
And, we'll deal with you when you have
An issue, and this
an
is how we're
issue.
going to this is how we're going to do it, you
Right.
know, rather than asking the questions like, how can we make our relationships better? And that's what I really liked. I like my current job right now because I'm just like, we're really working hard on the culture, the work culture.
So work culture and home culture, I mean, it's all different.
Oh, for sure.
right? But at the same time, like you said, it's like, okay, something happens at work that affects you and it trickles down.
Hmm.
And that's something to be aware of, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's really important that if you're feeling, and I had one client who perpetually switched jobs. And finally, I sat down and I was like, can you tell me why you're doing this? And he got to the point where he was like, actually, it's because I feel really, because he would always say I'm disrespected at work. And I was like, I don't know that that's true because, like everyone loves you. Like
Mm.
you are just so on it. And then it just came down to the point where he was like, oh, I'm feeling a lot more disrespect at home.
Oh,
And
it
the
was
only way,
opposite.
the only way he was able to kind of like lean into, okay, I'm going to stay here at this job and focus on saying my needs in my relationship. And it worked. It worked so much better. And I was like, there you go.
You're like, try the job for a year.
Yeah,
let's just get it done.
Let's just try it. You don't
Give
have
it a
to keep
whirl.
rotating.
Okay, so you have a book coming out.
I do.
And this is super exciting. So it's
So
coming out in
exciting.
June. What's it called?
It's called Burned, Blocked, and Better Than Ever. Yeah.
Okay, so explain that.
It's essentially my memoir from growing up. I used to be a youth and young adult pastor for almost 20 years. And when I got a divorce, they don't want you to do that anymore.
Right.
So
It's a little frowned upon.
Yeah, it's a little frowned upon. And I love people. I love helping people. I love sitting and listening to people. I don't have all the answers, but sometimes we don't need someone with all the answers. We just need someone that listens.
Mhm.
And I love doing that. And so, trying to build this coaching practice, everyone was like, well, you need to write a book. And I was like, oh, I got one of those because I wrote it while I was getting divorced in 2016. I worked at a hospital and the midnight shift. So between the hours of 2 and 4, there's not much going on. So I just was writing my entire experience because I grew up in the church. I got married at 20 years old. I was married for 15 years and it all fell apart.
Mhm.
And I was left literally, it felt like I left on a stage and spotlight, everyone was watching my life. They wanted to see what I was doing. They wanted to gossip about it. They wanted to have prayer meetings, like all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, I was like, well, I have to navigate this whole new experience. And so
And it's like losing a family.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Right?
Yeah. I lost everybody. And I had, there's so much trauma in my story. I didn't have a close relationship with my family, there's lots in there, but I had such a close relationship with his family that even after the divorce, I have to grieve. I'm
Yeah.
grieving all of this loss.
Were you able to keep in touch with them or
No,
Okay.
no, and that'll be in book 2.
I'll be waiting.
I got several in mind now. But, just navigating, how do I want to be everything that I truly believe in? I believe in kindness. I believe in the power of love. I haven't found it yet,
Mhm.
but I know that there's something to be said when you don't let the darkness all the way in. You don't let the pain in. You work on your fears. You work on the trauma. You know that there's something just so much more beautiful out there. Like I love winter because I can look out and see how just beautiful and white it is. I love fall because you just know that it's just preparing for something that's coming, spreading. And then, like you can look at anything and see the bad, or you can look at anything and see the good. And so I try to not be toxic positivity, but rather just, I know that there's something more. There's something so beautiful. And, that's kind of the book,
Mhm.
just going through that entire process and losing everything.
So can I ask you about
Mhm.
that? Because I honestly, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so the idea of losing everything, I mean, in a home too, right?
Mhm.
And so now when you're leaving, how long do you want to take everything with you? Or you know what I
Oh,
mean? I mean, because I'm thinking, wow, if that happened, I don't know what do you take or what do you keep somewhere else? So in case you're worried or I don't know.
that experience, I've never seen fire move so fast in all my life, and there wasn't anything you could take but your kids.
Right.
Like my daughter, she didn't even have time to grab her shoes. The only thing, my son had whatever was in his pockets. I had my phone because we were calling 911, and she didn't have time to grab her shoes. My son was able to grab the dog, but only because he's so old that he was standing at the back door anyways. So he was able to grab him, put him in the thing, and we couldn't grab the cat. And thankfully we didn't lose him. But my daughter's on the back porch screaming for the cat. And so I run in to try and find the cat. And I was in the bedroom where I thought the cat was. And when I walked in, it was like still popping fire everywhere. I could see everything. But within 15 seconds, the entire second floor was filled with black smoke. Oh, wow. So, I mean, there's just nothing you can grab. Right. There's nothing you can grab. My wallet, I couldn't grab my wallet. I thought for sure it would burn, but it was fine. It was in the counter. It was on the counter. It was soaking wet, but,
right. But,
you know.
But now are you able, I mean, I'm sure that stays with you to some degree.
Oh, all the time.
Right?
Yeah. I think every time I walk out of the house, I'm like, okay, this might be the only thing I ever have, and that's kind of the way it was then.
How are your kids?
They're good. They say kids bounce back. They really do. Unfortunately, we've gone through so much trauma that they're kind of like, oh, this kind of like...
It just like rolls off their back, right? You're like, oh gosh, I don't know if this is good. They're like, oh, whatever,
no,
we expected
we're fine.
that.
Yeah.
They
okay. Actually laugh at me because I stress out. Like, I'll be like, are you safe? I'll track your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just worry. I like spend a lot of time. And my son's like, I think you worry too much. I'm like, well, you're not on this side, okay?
You're like, just wait, buddy. Just wait.
And but they've turned into kind of minimalists, which is kind of nice. They not nice. I guess I don't want it to be a result of trauma, which is unfortunate. But I think they just came to terms with, I don't really need all this stuff. I really only want what's most important to me, because we did have a lot of stuff. We packed up a whole bunch of stuff when we moved from Illinois to here. And then when the house burned down, all we had that we could get out of the house was enough to fit a car. Because I mean, some of this stuff, the house didn't like completely burn all the way down. The water ruins a lot of everything.
Right.
Like 100%.
Smoke, right?
Yes. Smoke. So anything clothing wise that was up top, we couldn't keep, but, we don't like to do laundry a lot. So it was all in the laundry room in the basement. So we were able to take all that. But yeah, all we had was
I'm not
car.
grabbing my dirty laundry if there's
no. That's when I walked back in and grabbed it. I was like, all right, well, I guess,
I guess I'll do this.
We got some of that.
So, I mean, you're resilient. You mentioned kids are resilient, but obviously you are too.
Thanks.
And
I'm like, do I really want to be?
You're like,
stop testing me.
Exactly. Right. So what, in trauma, obviously, it stays with you always. And what would you say to somebody who is going through a time when they're really dealing with, personal trauma, a divorce, a fire, loss,
I would say it sucks 100%. And, but you do get through it. You really do. You'll have scars. One of the reason the first burned on my title book is when I was 4, I was reaching up to grab a cup of tea to help my mom, and it fell and burned my entire arm. And my father, being ultra religious, didn't want to take me to the hospital. He was like, well, just pray and it'll be fine. And he ripped the blisters off my skin.
Gosh.
And I mean, I'm 45 and I still have all those scars on here. And so recognize that, yes, you'll be fine. Yes, you'll get through it, but you will carry scars, and it's okay. It'll be okay. And that's probably all I really could say, and just let them talk.
Right?
Yeah. Like, I hear you. I've been there. Like, what else do you want to compare?
Oh my gosh. So your book is out in June.
Yes.
Okay. And you said there'll be another one after that, right?
Oh, for sure.
Okay. So it's funny. We saw each other we originally met when I was moderating that panel.
Yeah.
So we met then in Ann Arbor, and then saw you at the gala for On the Wings of Angels.
Yes.
On Saturday. And then you are hosting a huge event on this coming Saturday, right?
Yes, for Ellie's Place. Ellie's Place out of Ann Arbor, and then I think there's another in Brighton, I believe. They support families through grief. And again, another story of ours is my ex-husband passed away in August of 2020 and died suddenly within 72 hours. He was gone. And my kids needed a support system. They just really did. And the falling out between my relationship with my ex-husband's family was so bad because nobody taught me how to co-parent. And I was just like, peace,
Right.
I'm good. We're divorced. We don't need to keep talking. And because of that, they took on his mantle of hate and didn't like me or anything like that. And so in the worst moment of my kids' lives, their grandparents were nowhere to be found. And
Really?
it was terrible, so bad. I invited them. I was thinking like Steel Magnolias, Sally Field running to these kids. I was like, I'm so sorry you lost your son. I'm so sorry you lost your brother. You are more than welcome to come over and see the kids, And they didn't. For 2 weeks, they didn't show up.
Really?
And then my kids finally looked at me and they were like, did we do something wrong? And I was like, gosh. It was me. It was my fault. I should have done better. I should have learned how to communicate in that situation. I should have prioritized their relationships that continued. I mean, I hold a lot of guilt with that. I don't know if that's what I should have done, but I just should have done better. And so Ellie's Place, what I love about Ellie's Place is that they provide this process for them to grieve loss, whether it's a parent or a sibling. They talk about the real issues of, if it's by suicide or, non-traditional ways of passing. They offer services and it's all free. So it's amazing. And so this Derby Day event is when we bring in as many people, get as much donations so that they can continue their services for the entire year.
And those services are incredibly important.
So incredibly important.
I had, so my previous husband, I don't know if you know, I talk about it pretty openly, but my previous husband was killed by a drunk driver. And we have a daughter who was 11 at the time. And so the whole grief aspect, you just don't know when you're handling your own grief.
Yeah.
And then you have these child or children. It's very tough to navigate. And then you've got there's so many factors. So I kind of know where you've been a little bit, but kids are resilient. That is one thing I can attest to as well. But it is places, like Ellie's.
Yes.
Is it Ellie's?
Ellie's Place.
Yeah, Ellie's Place. And it's just amazing to get that help because they need to process that. Because I have found that sometimes people are ashamed of their grief.
Yeah.
And they, and then you've got the people who don't know what to say to you. So I've gone through, life now saying, listen, if I know somebody who is affected by grief, I'm going to say something rather than nothing.
Yeah.
Even if it's lame, it's usually like, you want a cup of coffee? Right?
Something.
Yeah. But that, but because to me, I know that that's better than the silence.
Yeah. And just something, anything that we experienced that one with the fire, people just kind of didn't want to talk about it.
Right.
And I was like, I don't think you understand everything that we lost. It's so hard. It's so scary. It's just, yeah. And so same with my kids through the loss of their father.
Well, I'm sorry about that. I did not know that. So, but yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that feeling. So the book is out on, do you know the release date yet?
End of June. That's all I know.
Okay. All right. We're going to keep tabs on you, man.
Yeah.
We're going to keep tabs on you. And I thank you so much. It's so nice to see you again. Joni, not Joni.
I know. Yeah. You're not the only one. No. It happens all the time.
Well, that makes me feel better. Thank you so much. Okay. Well, as I mentioned earlier, today is the Global Pay It Forward Day. And someone else, I don't know if you know Freddie, the pizza man.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But he pays it forward. And he does this by equipping sensory rooms throughout Michigan. And I had a chance to sit down with him at his pizzeria. Let's watch. Okay, so I'm hanging out with Freddie the Pizza Man. And Freddie, not only do you equip sensory rooms all over the state of Michigan, you also have something special you do for teachers. What is that?
Yeah, the Freddie the Pizza Man ASD Teacher of the Year Award. We're 2025, so we're on our 7th annual ASD Teacher. Obviously, ASD teachers are very special to us, so we want to honor them. And what we do is we take the social media, and you can find Freddie the Pizza Man on all social media. It's very simple. I just ask a parent, a fellow teacher, even a student, a teacher has changed your life, it's touched your heart, email me. And just write me. We don't need a huge letter, just something right to the point that why they changed your life, why they're so special. Write us a little blurb. We read them all, and we nominate one probably toward September, October area when we start the new school season. And we give them a little gift, we give them a trophy, and you can go to freddythepizzaman.com or directly freddythepizzaman@gmail.com. It's FREDI, thepizzaman@gmail.com.
To nominate the special teacher in your life.
Absolutely, and it's 7th annual this year. We love it. It's awesome. Special to us.
Okay.
And reading the letters, and, and real quick, reading the letters, it's great.
So I imagine you get kids that write letters too, don't you?
Yeah, we do. And honestly, it's usually parents, but it's usually a fellow teacher. And I think that
speaks volumes.
That does speak volumes. And usually when I let the wife read them, she usually tears up. And when she tears up the most,
is when you know.
That's the one we usually know. Yeah.
You're like, get the Kleenex, honey.
Absolutely.
We've got our winner.
Bingo.
And again, that is Freddie Bello. You can find out more information at freddythepizzamanfoundation.org. Well, Hegira Health, and this is Carol Zuniga. And Carol, we have talked over the phone many times, but never met in person. So nice to meet you.
It's great to meet you as well.
So Hegira Health is huge, right? I mean, the services you offer, and you're based in Livonia, right?
We are.
Okay.
Our headquarters are in Livonia,
Okay.
and we cover the Western Wayne community and down through into Downriver.
Okay. So what, for anyone who doesn't know what you do, what is that?
So we are behavioral health specialists, and we provide a large cadre of services for persons of all ages, regardless of ability to pay, of mental health, substance use, and services for persons with developmental disabilities. In addition to our treatment services, we are really big on prevention, stigma awareness, and education. Whatever we can do to educate the community about the importance of mental wellness.
So do you think, and we may have talked about this before, but during the whole COVID time, we heard that, oh, the stigma about mental health is, it's going away. People are talking about it more. And I think, do you agree with that?
I think that what COVID did was it gave people permission. So where mental health concerns they still are largely considered a weakness by a lot of people, but it became more open. It became an opportunity. People struggled because of COVID, so it wasn't me anymore. It was the COVID. So it gave people opportunity, but they're largely people who were struggling before COVID. So yeah, the stigma has reduced. People are more aware. People are more open, but we still struggle with the problem.
So when we say mental health, I mean, that's kind of all encompassing. What are you guys seeing the most of the need for most, I guess?
Well, so we provide a whole range of services. So we work with people mild to moderate, walking wounded, kind of, transient kind of issues, kids with problems in school, some relationship issues that aren't at that serious point yet, all the way through to very serious mental illness, persistent long-term chronic illnesses. So, we see everything. What we focus on looking at prevention in kids. So we're really focused on helping adolescents. That is the point where we want to educate our kids about mental wellness so that they think about mental health and are aware of signs and symptoms that they're having issues. We want it to start when they're 12, so that when they're 15, they're dealing with it, and when they're 18 and they're in college, they're dealing with that as well. We certainly are concerned with suicide rates. We're concerned with emergency departments and overutilization of emergency departments and people not getting care early. So we're really out there promoting signs and symptoms. Get care now.
So I'm shaking my head yes like this because I have 13-year-old twins, and these middle school years, I mean, it is beyond tough. And there's so many different things that contribute to it. Whether the way they dress, being bullied, or just not knowing how to talk to kids, or socially awkward, whatever it is, but they really struggle. So the idea that you guys try to get them when they're 12, so they're aware of that and can even maybe ask for help themselves sometimes, right?
Yeah, and I've had wonderful opportunities to meet with a variety of different youth groups. and their insight is astounding. So it's working.
Right.
The message is getting out there. They talk about concerns about their parents not being able to talk about their mental health,
Well, it's
but
so
they're
funny you
able
say
to.
that. So yesterday we were in the car and my son Carson said, "I think you need a mental health break," to me. And I'm all,
Right.
okay, well, I guess, I'll.
And you probably
And
do.
yes, right. But
Yeah.
there's, and so for a minute I thought I should probably say no. I should probably say I'm fine. But that wouldn't teach them
No,
anything.
right. I mean, and if you are fine, you're fine. But
Right,
but
but
if you're not, like,
for him to call
it's
me
time
out,
to
you
face
knew it
reality.
wasn't,
Right. Something
right.
was like, Mom, you're stressed, or
Right. Right. So
you,
it's
you
okay
look
for-
tired, Mom. What's going
I
on?
am tired, man. So it's okay for us to tell our kids, I'm stressed. In your, I mean, do you?
It's communication. It's telling them about reality of life. And we need to make mental health. We talk about it being a kitchen table conversation. We need it to be natural. We need it to be where our kids and where we can say, yeah, I had a bad day and I'm not feeling well. And this is what I'm going to do so that I feel better, because I don't want this to get out of control.
Right. No, that's fantastic. So you care for adults and children. You have an urgent care too, don't you? That is,
We do.
I thought that was so interesting.
We do.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. We opened the first child and family urgent care for behavioral health in Western Wayne County. So Wayne County, outside the city of Detroit. There's also one in Detroit that opened this past year as well.
Okay.
So from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., children and their parents, 6 to 17, can just walk in our center because they need some help. It might be a family situation. It might be a school situation that just happened, a relationship issue, something that needs to be dealt with right away. And for those people who have tried to get into mental health services, there's a wait.
There is a wait.
There's
a long wait.
So we're available. We have therapists, psychiatrists, peers, family peer members available to help during those times.
So this is
Seven
an urgent
days
care
a
of
week.
like a different type.
It is urgent care, but specifically for behavioral health. So we don't treat medical issues there.
Right. Okay.
We can do drug testing, and we can do some basic
But
testing.
if you have a fever, this isn't the place where you're going.
It's not the place to go. But if you need a prescription of medication, you're running out, and you can't get an appointment with your psychiatrist, it's a place to go. And if you need some support, schools use us when they're having a child who's having difficulties in school. They'll call the parent. The parent will come, and they'll bring them to us. And
So
we'll
is this
help
only
work
for
that through.
Wayne County residents?
No, anyone can come.
Oh, okay.
Anyone can come. So Hegira Health is a certified behavioral health clinic, which is a federal certification, which funds us to serve everybody.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, so
regardless.
it doesn't matter the
regardless of
county.
your ability to pay, regardless of where you live.
So that type of urgent care, are those the only ones in the state or in this area?
So it's up and coming.
Okay.
So the state of Michigan as a whole has been working on crisis care for behavioral health, and they're opening a number of centers around the state. So several of those have opened. Most of them are for adults. There are a few for kids. But as far as I know, there are no other specific urgent cares, walk-in centers for children and families.
That is amazing. I was looking at that and I thought, wow, that is a service, because the wait to get in to see somebody is still really long. We keep hearing that.
Right. It is, unfortunately. And I would like to say that you could walk into a Hegira Health program and get an appointment that same day, but you can't.
Okay.
So we're still challenged with workforce issues. It's certainly gotten much better post-COVID. Really struggled during COVID. We also have options of telehealth through our clinics. So that's an easier way to get in sometimes as well. But the urgent care for kids and families, if there's an urgent need, it's a much better setting than an emergency department. It's specialty care. It's a specialty setting. You don't have to worry about the trauma that happens in an emergency department. So we encourage people to use
Plus
that
that
service.
opens the emergency rooms.
Correct.
Right.
For
So,
people who
yeah,
are having a cardiac arrest or a broken
bleeding
leg.
or-
Right.
So that is okay. So if somebody wanted to check it out or get an appointment, how would they do that?
So you don't need an appointment for urgent care.
Okay, but what about in general for the
in general?
Yeah.
So you'd contact Hegira Health either through our website,
okay.
Or through our pre-admission. And you're going to ask me the phone number, and I don't
I'm
know
not.
it.
I got burned by that last week. I'm not doing that.
I don't know. It starts with 734. That's all I can tell you. I probably should know it, but our website is hegirahealth.org. Very simply search it, and lots of information on how to access
the
services.
website is amazing. And that's, of course, how I found out about the urgent cares.
Ah, wonderful. That's
Yes.
great to hear. So we recently revamped,
Okay.
tried to make it very user-friendly,
Yep.
easy access for people who aren't very knowledgeable about what behavioral health care is. So
Right.
lots of pictures, lots of descriptions to easily find what you're looking for.
So, what if if they weren't sure they need to go there to the urgent care? I mean, should they call or say what they're experiencing or what their child is experiencing?
Sure, they can call, and you're going to ask me for that phone
Nope,
number,
I'm
and
not
I
gonna
don't
ask
know
you for
that
that
phone
number
number either. But yeah, you can call, and
Okay.
always available to walk in.
Okay.
So, and it's located at Farmington and I-96, so it's pretty easy access from
Okay.
wherever you're coming from.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. It is so nice to meet you in person.
Likewise.
Okay, so today is Global Pay It Forward Day. What are you going to do for that?
Well, you know what? I didn't realize that.
Mhm.
What am I going to do? Well, I think my paying it forward is going to be my presentation tonight for
Yes.
250
That's exciting.
college athletes at U of M
U of M,
Dearborn.
right?
So
Okay.
really talking with them about the next steps in life and how accomplished they already are and how to use those accomplishments to help them move further.
Because that's got to be a change for them that's coming too, right?
It's huge,
Yeah.
right? That's a big
Like
change.
identity, and
Yeah.
there's so much involved in that.
Right, right. And understanding, right? We all know we
Yep.
go through these identities as we go through life and
There's
it
a
all
lot.
evolves. It all evolves and it's all good and
Right?
one builds on to the next and nothing ever really ends. It just builds on.
Or it changes a little,
It changes.
right?
It doesn't,
There's
it
a
doesn't
little bit.
end. It
It doesn't end.
changes.
It just changes a
It's
little
always
bit.
part of who we are.
It is, right?
It always is part of who we are.
Okay, Johnny, how about you? You have any plans to pay it forward? Or
I always like the coffee idea. I love food.
I love the coffee idea.
I'll just buy someone's food because I mean I love food too. So let me pay it forward that way.
But isn't it funny? It's so funny when you experience that, when somebody does something for you
Mhm.
and you're like, oh, thanks. I guess I will pay. And then it's almost an immediate thing of, oh, well, I am going to pay it forward, because you're so grateful in that moment and so surprised, I think. I think the surprise is the biggest thing
Yeah.
that catches you and makes you like, oh, thanks. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have been highlighting our Caffeinated Act of Kindness, which is a nonprofit every month. We've been highlighting CAREhouse of Oakland County. So Trisha is actually going to come up here right now. We are doing a weird transition thing. We're doing the rotating chairs thing. Trisha, thanks so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So you are the vice president of programs at CAREhouse, and if somebody isn't aware of what CAREhouse is, tell us.
CAREhouse is a children's advocacy center based here in Oakland County, and we basically the easy way to say it is we coordinate services for children and families where there's been allegations of sexual abuse, physical abuse, or witness to violence. We also have intervention, prevention, treatment, and advocacy that we do as well. So,
So-
myriad.
Right. So the first week we talked to Tanya,
Yes.
and she had set up the whole child safety fair.
Mhm.
And I had gone, that was in Berkeley, that's where I live. So I had gone to check it out. And it was very interesting to see the different stations and with a red flag, and for these kids to walk around and be talking about what something might look like for
Mhm.
them. And if they were getting the heebie-jeebies from somebody, or what are the different red flags. And really interesting to hear the kids
Mhm.
going around those stations and talking and giving their opinion, and how you guys are raising awareness for that. It was really cool to see.
It's a really great event. Actually, we're doing another one tonight.
Oh, are you?
Yes.
Where's
So,
that one?
That one's actually going to be in Ferndale.
Okay.
So I'm going to volunteer for that.
Okay.
But it's a phenomenal event because really a lot of times it's the adults who have a really struggle with talking openly with children about what to look for. We also tend to not want to hurt people's feelings. So if we feel nervous or feel something sort of off about somebody, we don't want to be rude. And we want to teach children also about the actual words for all their body parts.
So it's funny. So I think Tanya said that, and all of us were like, okay, well, because it is awkward.
Oh, I grew up with that too.
Did you? Okay, so
Mhm.
we're not the only ones.
No, not at all. And the way I like to explain it to people is with whatever groups we do, we'll sit there and we'll go through and we'll talk about, what do you call this? What do you call this? I always say, what do you call this? It's an elbow. Do you have any cute nicknames
Right.
for it? No. But yeah, when it comes to private areas or genitals, everybody's got all kinds of names, and we
Right.
can all think of them. It's one of those things.
But that is one thing that you guys are trying to change, as
Yes.
far as, okay, kids, you need to know the real name so we can talk about this.
Yes.
Right.
It's important if something's happening to a child, especially to, their vaginal area or something like that, they need to be able to use those words, because sometimes they use those nicknames and adults don't even know what they're talking about. So they think it's actually a muffin.
Right.
And, and not really what they're actually trying to say. So them trying to get help sometimes gets lost in the translation of what adults hear.
Interesting. Okay, so you're in charge of programs.
Yes.
Okay, so what other, you have a bunch of different programs
We
at
have our
CAREhouse. Do the canine advocates, do they count as one of those programs?
Yes, they do.
I love those canine advocates.
Oh, we love our canine advocates. That's actually one of our newest programs that we have. And for those who don't know, we have, so they are leader dogs that have gone through the initial training, and then they become career change dogs. And that's for a variety of reasons. Because to go on to be a leader dog and be placed with somebody who is blind, you have to pass all these different tests. And for example, we have Harper, who's at CAREhouse, and Harper is phenomenal, golden retriever. Her problem is she has hip dysplasia.
Oh.
And so through a physical, they found that out, so she can't be placed with somebody to actually go forward. So what we do is we become sort of the placement for those animals, those dogs, to be placed at either children's advocacy centers, so similar to ours, or prosecutors' offices in the
Really?
victim advocate units. So
Okay.
they can go to court with the children who have to testify,
Wow.
or sit with them while they're waiting to testify. And then in our cases, they're there with the children who are waiting to be forensically interviewed or in therapy.
So you said that's a pretty new program.
That's one of our newer ones.
Okay.
Yep.
And so you've got therapy dogs all over the place.
We have them all over. We have them. We have 40. We've had a bunch of them lately. We have 40, close to 44 now, placed throughout the state, all the way up to the UP.
That's
And
awesome.
our lowest one is in Ohio, but that's the only one that's out of state. The rest are all over the place. In
Did you
Michigan.
say Ohio?
No.
Just
one.
Just she's on just
We
one.
decided to try
it. Just one. Okay, so then with the canine advocates, then there's also the Nurturing Oakland Parents.
Nurturing Oakland Parents, and that's our parent education program. That's a 15-week program, and that is geared for parents who have elementary age children, so 5 to 11.
Is this something that they can volunteer? Is this mandated, or is this a program that they can just join to?
Nope, they can just call, and they can go on our website, or they can call, and they can find out when the next session's going to start, being 15 weeks. They tend to be longer sessions.
Right.
We also we just decided to try this. We did a sort of like a telehealth or a virtual class for Spanish-speaking parents, which turned out to be wildly successful. And we actually had a 63-person wait list, which was shocking.
Are you going to do another one?
I think we're doing more. Yeah, I think the demand is there.
That is awesome.
Yes.
So, okay, so what's interesting, and I said this to Yvonne last week too, and Tanya, that CAREhouse of Oakland County, I didn't really know what you guys did. You're kind of a well-kept secret to some degree.
To some degree.
Because, I mean, in all my years in the media, and all the stories that come through, I hadn't really ever heard of CAREhouse. Like, oh, the child was at CAREhouse, or it's very, very quiet. And I think that's for safety issues.
Some of it's for safety issues. Some of it is also confidentiality. So even if other people, like if we work with law enforcement or protective services or prosecutors' offices, they might say they've come to CAREhouse, but we can't ever acknowledge.
Oh,
Even if they say it, we still can't acknowledge.
It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. They're like, but they said it on the news. It's like, that's great.
You're like, that's wonderful.
Still
Move on.
can neither confirm nor deny.
Right.
Yeah. As far as our more public and able to refer yourself to services, we've slowly been developing that. So with the safety fairs, with being able to do the Nurturing Oakland parent education classes, with being able to join our Healthy Families program, which is for people who are prenatal or up to 3 months old. If they want some home visiting services, they can also refer themselves for those.
That's nice. That's good. Right?
Yeah, we're able to offer a little more.
Yeah, resources are out there. So any programs in the works, any new programs that you guys are trying to get on board?
Not right now. We're actually looking at possibly expanding sites. We are right now in Pontiac, so centrally located in the county, but we also know Oakland County is huge. So we are trying to figure out where would be some better locations, not better, but also additional locations to be able to provide the services so that we can reach more people. Telehealth has been phenomenal, like you said. It's a really wonderful resource to be able to offer to families who maybe live where they can't get easy access to transportation, or even if they could get transportation, the hours are outside of what's feasible.
Right. So let me ask you this. You are, CAREhouse, everything you guys do, and you the forensic interviews and helping abused children. How did you get into this?
Oh, that's a good question. I have actually been in this field for about 31 years, and I started out doing home visiting myself in a couple different ways. And then I actually had a previous employer that said, hey, they worked at the Macomb County CAREhouse, which is also a children's advocacy center. And she said, will you come work with me? And I went there and started learning how to be a forensic interviewer and a therapist, and working with children and families who have gone through trauma and recognizing the strengths and the amazingness that they are just fit. It clicked. And so I have been doing this particular type of work since 1999. So been a little while. We'll just leave it at,
It's been a little while,
Yeah.
but the progression of your career and to end up in charge of programs,
Yes.
right? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, and I laugh when I'm explaining what I do there. I'm like, I've actually done pretty much every job in the building, except for our court-appointed special advocate program. We also have. I haven't done that one.
Is it on your list?
It is not on my list. I'm going to let the people that are running that run that.
Handle it.
Yeah, I've hit that point. And our CEO's position, I'm good with. I like working with the families. I like working with the programs, and that's really where I want to stay.
So I know Joni said it earlier from her experience that kids are resilient.
Very.
And you agree?
Oh, absolutely. As long as kids are given support and nurturing and are told that what they think and say is valid, it's amazing how quick they can bounce back.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've asked them. I'm going to ask you. Today's Pay It Forward Day. What are you going to do?
Yeah, and I was the same way. I had just learned that today. Well, I'm going to volunteer at the Body Safety Fair, but also I help out in our community a lot and with our school district. So I'm going to have to think about that and probably go and help out at one of the programs they have going on this week.
That's very cool. Okay, so this is another question that I ask Joni. I'm going to start with you. Okay, so if you had coffee with your younger self, if you were to meet her at a coffee shop, what would you tell her?
That is a really good question. I would probably tell her, you will rise every time. Everything you go through, don't worry about it. You will rise. Sometimes you lay in bed before you do it for a couple of days. And then, but in the end, you still rise.
Carol, you know the question.
That's a tough question. I would like to tell myself to just keep doing the right thing. And that's kind of been my motto that's gotten me through lovely things as well as really hard things, is just walk away knowing that you're always doing the right thing for the right reason. And that's what I would tell my younger self.
That's awesome. Okay, you're up, Trisha.
My turn. I think if I were to talk to myself as the younger person, I would say not to worry so much about being perfect and trying to do everything in a certain way, and just appreciate the relationships and the experiences as they come.
And that has to do with being present a little bit too, right?
Yes.
And I don't know why it's so hard to be present like all the time. I know I got busted the other day with something came on TV and it said something like, oh, is your parent, do they have their face in their phone? I'm like, no.
Yes.
And the twins both look at me and I'm like, I wasn't doing anything, like hiding it, right? It's like, I really don't have my phone under this pillow, by the way. But it's so interesting to be present, and you have to like focus on that. And it doesn't seem like we should have to, but somehow we do.
Well, and I think you worry too much about, did I do that right, rather than just enjoying what you just did. And that's the present part. You know, it's like you're not going like, oh, I'm enjoying this. You're just stressing through the whole thing.
Right. And just maybe trying to get through it.
Right.
Right. So that's a good point. How about you? Any advice, Carol? To be more present, or how to be more present?
No, I think being there, being involved, engaging in conversation, open-ended questions, giving the people you're with, whoever you're with, the opportunity to just speak about what they're feeling and what they're thinking, and being grateful and thankful, and letting people know you appreciate them.
Right. And I think that's part of it too. I mean, how many times do we hear, oh, just show gratitude or be grateful? And then you're like, why is that so hard to do? I've got some issues.
sometimes we take it for granted that people realize it, right? And
Right.
and they need to hear it.
Right,
Yes.
for sure. Well, and that is actually an excellent point, because you do think, oh, well, they know I love them so much. We're all good.
Mhm.
And the other person's like, they don't care at all.
Yeah.
So I think that is a huge thing to do. Say you appreciate somebody.
I agree.
Johnny, how about you?
To stay present,
Mhm.
I would say shut your brain off. Like I tell my kids all the time, like they'll ask me something and it takes like, you remember Rolodexes. That's what my brain does, is it Rolodexes through to like find the thing that I'm like, oh yeah, right there. And then sometimes I just need to shut my brain off because I'm just thinking about tomorrow or the next thing. Am I ready? Am I ready? Am I ready? Am I ready? And to be present, sometimes I just have to shut my brain off.
And I think when you're not present, that also contributes to anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then it just spirals from
Yeah.
there.
Yes.
Well, listen, thank you all so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. Some of you didn't know why you were here. But because it is Pay It Forward, I'm going to pass you each
Ooh.
a little flower that you can plant.
Oh, I love that.
Nice.
you.
That is
Remember
a
your
beautiful day to do
time
that.
here with
Super
me.
nice.
It's
Perfect.
Thank
So-
you.
So it's not a cup of coffee, but it was out there. So
This works just as
Fair.
well.
yes. So
Thank you.
thank you all seriously for joining me. And Johnny, it's been so fun to see you throughout these last couple months in random spots. And
Yeah.
Carol, we have a history of talking on the phone only, so it's nice to finally meet you in person. And Trisha, Tanya was great, Yvonne was great, you're great. Everything CAREhouse does, it's amazing to know that there is so much help out there.
Thank you.
Especially for kids, and even with Hegira Health, right? I mean, a lot of people probably don't know that urgent care is available, and I think it's so
amazing.
important to get it out there.
I learned that today, so that's
Yeah.
great.
Appreciate that. We can work
Yeah,
with
so
you.
maybe there's
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
here,
I'll
right?
be, I'll be sharing that.
Let your families know we're there.
Exactly. No, that is so important. And then, of course, we will be staying in touch about when your book is coming out. All
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
I just thank you all so much for joining me on this Monday. So thank you. All right.
Thank
So
you.
thank you all for watching. And of course, like I always say every week, keep the coffee hot. We'll see you next week. Bye.